Okay, good morning, everybody. Namaskaram. I think today, considering it's been a new moon as well, we shall start face down. I like this idea. Sorry about my hand there. It's not the best place for the camera. Let's start face down, lying on our bellies. And one hand stacked on top of the other. The forehead resting. Make your thighs nice and comfortable there. Perhaps lifting the elbows up once you've got settled and just placing them back down. Bring the toes in a little bit towards each other and let the heels fall out away from each other. And simply begin by taking a few deepened breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And because we're mask breathing all the time, you might just want to turn your head a little to one side and exhale the breath out. So when you take the inhalation, again, you've got fresh breath, fresh air. Exhaling through the mouth, I didn't mention that. Giving your body a bit of time to begin to rest back a little easier in the morning. Perhaps it just slipped out of bed. So don't be in too much of a rush to deeply engage with external life, keeping your awareness drawing inwards and letting that attention, that awareness, help the body to remain vibrant but relaxed. Just notice how you're feeling this morning. Being aware of what you're bringing to your practice. Noticing how the body is this morning. And as you tune into your sensitivity, like turn up the volume of visibility, let that stay with you throughout the class so you can begin to really determine what's going to work for you this morning, the support that your body needs, the things that perhaps you can let go of during class that won't be helpful. Find the breath when you're ready. Breathe into the fullness of your torso, perhaps to the count of 4. Pausing for 2. Exhaling for 4. And pausing for 2. And continuing with that little ratio, that foundation building ratio. as you breathe in this manner with your heightened awareness or sensitivity, aim to have body completely relaxed and at ease through all the whole parts, the segments of this breathing practice. And though there are 4 distinct parts of the breath here in Samavriti, it is also one continuous, beautiful flow, cycle, rhythm. So try and have this sense of just simply flowing from one section or part into the other. Sometimes after the pausing, feels like we sort of have to step over something in order to allow the inhalation or the exhalation to occur. Sort of trying to feel that sense of gliding over and into the next part of the breath. So completing one more full round, whatever you are. Noticing how you're feeling. And just begin by allowing the hips to rock from side to side in this very rhythmic way, as if we're on an old bouncy train, a wobbly train, letting the hips just rock from side to side. Try and keep completely relaxed while this happens. And then we're going to allow that to fade away. Lift our feet up off the floor so they hover over the knees and begin a little rotation of the feet. In both directions. And then just allow the feet to drop from side to side so they're swinging from left to right, massaging the thighs, releasing a little in the spine. And then coming back to the center, allowing the feet to drop back down. And as you do, stretching the arms out overhead. Reaching them away, reaching your feet away. Maybe press the hands into the floor for a moment as you inhale and look up. And this is just a really minute back bend, so we're just looking up. And then exhale to release the head back down. Bring the hands into prayer together overhead and use the inhalation to take them all the way over the head. So the thumbs touch the back of your neck and then back down. So you can inhale perhaps the arms, the hands overhead, and exhale them back down. And repeating it another 2 or 3 times, depending on how quickly you're working. So just find your own rhythm with your breath. And when you come to bring the hands overhead, then leave them there and begin to roll the fingers, back of fingers and then heel of the hands, and then back of the thumbs and fingers and heel of the hands. So we're making rotations with the wrists. And changing the direction with that. Stretching the arms out overhead again onto the floor. Release the hands so the palms press into the floor at around about shoulder distance. And once again, let's inhale and look up, press the hands into the floor, and maybe a little lift of the feet. So bringing the feet up, you're looking up at the chest and the chin, hands press into the floor, shoulders drawing back towards the heels. And then one more breath as you hold there, and then exhale, just bend the elbows nice and wide. You could take a cheek to the floor and rock the hips a couple of times once again. And then bringing the hands in under your shoulders, you might like to rotate your shoulders a few times. And then press up the hands, coming onto hands and knees. I've got a cat. You can do cat. Let JJ show us how we're going to do the cat pose, hey? How is that, Smoochie? Can you just start by wagging the tail a little from side to side? If you want to purr, you're welcome to purr. Hey, JJ. Beginning to just feel what's going on for you in the spine as you swing the hips from side to side. Coming back to the center and using an exhalation as you're ready to drop the head and tail and round through the spine, pressing a little forward. So we really come into the upper back. And then inhale, roll the sit bones up, drop the ribs down, and lift the chest and chin through the arms. And then exhale, coiling back, dropping the head, tucking the tail, rounding through the spine, pressing the body a little forward so you feel the weight come into the hands and the openness in the upper back. And then inhale, roll the sit bones up, drop the ribs, lift the chin, the chest. Pull back perhaps a little buttocks towards the heels now, but press the hands in firmly as you do that so you're not going to move anywhere. And then exhale, lastly, release the head around through the spine and just hold there for a moment as you swing the chin a couple of times from left to right. So tuck your toes under and let's drop the buttocks down towards the heels as we stretch our hands out a little further so we can really lengthen from the hips to the hands and from the crown to the tail or the tail to the crown. Just take a moment to have a little, maybe some breaths or maybe some little wriggles through the shoulders or the hips just to see what's needed for you. Maybe opening up those underarms through some little underarm dipping or a little La Cucaracha style. And then we inhale to roll up. So we're rounding as if we're doing that down cat action and pressing forward. Shoulders come over the wrists as we look up, begin to look up, and then start rolling your sit bones up in the up cat variation and begin to push the hips back towards the heels as your head is looking upward. And then you come to rest in what I would call puppy pose as the head dips down towards the floor. Inhale and begin to push up, rounding through the spine, bringing the hips forward. Shoulders begin to align over the wrist, and that's when we lift the head and create a sort of a straight spine before we begin to drop the ribs down, roll the sit bones up, looking up and pressing back at the same time. Dropping into the puppy pose and then rounding and coming forward. So we used to do a lot of this, I think years ago when we were in the studio and pulling the hips back. So just finding your own rhythm, a few more rounds. I like to think of this as running cat, like I'm a big, beautiful leopard or tiger or something, and I'm running fast through the fields. You know how you have this really long body of the cat just running. We're in slow motion because we're a nature documentary where they slow it down. Okay, one more round. And as you come up and forward, let's just walk those hands even further away as you get to, the top, and then begin to roll the sit bones up and drop your chest down, chest and chin. You might want to just get halfway and then really tuck the tail under strongly, round through the back and lift a little out of there, and then do the opposite. Begin to lift your head and roll the sit bones again, and once again drop the heart towards the floor. See how the shoulders are going. If it's too much still, tuck the tail under, tuck the chin in, round through the spine, lift a little bit out of there, and then once again do the opposite. Begin to lift the chin and roll the sit bones up, and once again drop the heart down. Press the hands firmly into the floor, and you might be able to drop your forehead or chin to the earth as the hands are sitting shoulder distance. Cat has left a few hairs behind to tickle my nose. So just a couple of breaths here as we really begin to open our heart up. This is so important in life just now. We really want to feel this sense of contraction to all that is happening in the world, but really what we need is to break the heart open and be unashamedly, in devotion to life, in devotion to love. Breathe into the shoulders, into the heart, into the chest. And then we're going to come out of there carefully. As you take an inhale, begin to push up halfway and then drop the elbows to the floor. Keep the toes tucked. And then we just straighten one leg, lifting the knee off the floor, and then the other. And we're in, elbow plank. How did we get here? Okay, so do a little dip, like lift the hips and drop the head, rounding through the spine, and then exhale, lengthen out. Plank it out, people, plank it out. And then inhale, lift the heels, drop the head, round through the spine, lift the heels and hips, right? And then plank it out. Remember that thing, planking? Was that back in the 90s or noughties? Anyway, inhale, lift once again, yay, and then exhale, plank it out. And then slowly dropping the knees, the thighs, the hips, the belly. Oh, life feels good after that, right? Lengthen into your feet, press the elbows into the floor. If there's pinching in the lower back, take your elbows forward and out. So the elbows are in front of the shoulders for sure, and perhaps a little wider than the shoulders. If it's comfortable for you, the elbows are around about under the shoulders. So just it's first real back bending for the morning, so don't be ambitious. But do press those feet into the floor. Toes pointing away. Get the thighs of your muscles nice and sneaky into the ground. Then we just begin to press the elbows and palms into the floor and opening our heart up, feeling our heart through the shoulders as if they're really, it's like a sun shining out. Looking directly ahead, just for a moment, really activate those elbows into the earth and back towards the heels. And then use an exhalation to press into the palms, lift the elbows up and take them out to the side so you can just flatten the rest of your body down to the earth. Tuck the chin under and place, if you can, the forehead to the floor. If that's too uncomfortable, maybe have a really big nose and that would make a difference. Then turn your opposite cheek, another cheek to the floor if you've already used the cheek. Otherwise, just roll the forehead from side to side just to release any tension in the neck there. You might even like to dip one shoulder and then the other in towards the floor. This little sense of having a little figure of 8 with the shoulders, one shoulder rolling and then the other shoulder rolling. And then bringing the elbows back under the shoulders, tucking those toes under, they're about in line with the hips. And then let's come back up onto our knees. Really get nice and comfortable with the elbows under the shoulders. Knees tuck, lift your belly, and then lift those knees once again off the floor, back into our elbow plank. We're going to drop the right foot down and then drop the right heel down. So the right toes are touching more or less the left heels, and you can just remain here with the left hand on the floor in front of you, or you can lift your elbow here. Keep lifting the hips and then lift the elbow, and then just a little light moment here, and then come back into your elbow plank, and then drop down to the other side. So the left foot turns out on the outer edge. We then drop that right heel in, that right elbow lifting off the floor, and then if you've got it, you can keep the right hand on the floor for support, or you can lift that elbow up, the hand just dropping towards the heart. A nice breath there to strengthen. Keep lifting the hip away from the floor and then slowly coming back down. Hallelujah. One knee and then the other. And then come to sit on your hunches. My camera work may not be the best this morning. I was just a little less organized than I might normally be. Okay. So we're sitting on our heels. Just take a little time to iron out any creases, particularly through the neck or shoulder. You can get a little bunchy uppy there, you know, when we start doing those sort of things. Comes into the neck and shoulder, so just take a moment to wind it out. You might like to also just loosen through the wrists a little bit. And then find the length up from the tail to the crown. Find the breath in the body. Try and be nice and relaxed. Turn the palms out so they're facing away from you. And we start our affirmation series, taking inhalation as the arms rise up and overhead. I reach with trust, coming forward and down. I go forward with enthusiasm. Coming forward, the whole hips into a little back bend of your choice. I open myself to possibility. Pulling back into wisdom pose. I bow to wisdom, buttocks to heels there. Into up cat. I breathe in energy. With the tongue poking out, down cat. I release my fears. Up cat again. I welcome change. And full child's pose, arms along the legs. I surrender to peace. Reaching up as you kneel up, I feel joy and inspiration. Hands meet overhead, let's sit down into prayer. And I honor life. So just letting those affirmations absorb into you. Dropping the hands back down, taking an inhale to reach out and up. And as you reach the peak, just begin to rotate your wrists a couple of times in each direction. And then inhale once again, finding the line from your back feet to your knees and up the inner dunda of the body and into the hands. And as you exhale, arms come out wide and the left foot comes forward. You take your left hand onto your left knee and the right hand continues its journey up. And then as we exhale, we'll take it back behind us, full rotation. Coming forward with the hips as the hand comes forward, inhale, lift, and this time we're dropping into the arch, the crescent right here. And then as you exhale, take the arm back out of there a little bit so you've got that ability. And then drop in as the arm comes forward and up. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, lift that right arm up, drop the hips down, and just hold there for a moment. You might like to press that left arm into the leg and let that help support the lift up through the torso. Press both feet firmly into the floor and keep the tail long. One more breath and a little smile might not be a bad thing. Hello, little smoochy one. My cat is incredibly friendly these days. You want to join me? Oh, baby, I can't resist you. I'm working on it. Bringing both hands back down to either side. I'm a sucker. Whatever the animals want, it's okay by me, even if it's a huge interruption. We're going to pull back that left hip as we inhale, dropping the nose towards the knee. Smooch your cat if you've got one. And then exhale. Come forward, bringing the knee forward, lifting the head. Oh, she's doing a whole new thing, jumping on my back. Oh, that's sweet. Inhale, pull back. I can do one of these cat yoga videos soon. And exhale, come forward. And again, inhale, pull back, and let's hold there for a moment as you begin to really pull that left hip back, pointing into the left heel or toe, so they're trying to remain on the floor. It's not a big deal if they lift off. And then coming forward once again. Lifting up. If you have a block and you would like to use a block under your right hand, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we're going to tuck the right toes, lift the right knee, and lean into the right hand, either directly onto the floor or onto a block, and then reach the left arm up. Inhale here, reaching into the fingertips. And as you exhale, drop the hips down a little as the arm comes down toward, back behind you and down towards the floor. And then reach it out forward and up as the hip lifts up a little bit. Get that nice peak of the pose as the hand reaches directly overhead. And then exhale, drop into the lunge a little bit as the hand drops back and down. One more as the hand comes forward and up. And reach it up and then exhale, let's just hold there. And then begin to drop that left hip down a little bit and kick into the right heel. Take one more breath there and then exhale the hand down to the knee. That right hand, it might like to just step out a little bit more, just to give yourself a little bit more room. And then we might like to just step in that right foot just a little bit more, not a big bit, just a little bit, and then we roll onto the outer edge of that right foot. You can walk this left foot out. Now you've got lots of room for the 3 tripod foundation of this pose. You can take that left hand on, and then we sort of dip and lift at the same time. You might like to dip your hips a little forward, down and forward, but kick into that right heel, open the chest, let that right hand support you. You can remain there, or you can try lifting that left arm up. Yay! Oh, the elbow is perfect, yeah. And then one more breath, and then we exhale and reach that left hand down to the floor in support, and see if you can step that left leg on top of the right. And then we're going to straighten out the body, even if you need to take that foot so it's on the floor rather than on the other foot, you know, for that extra support. You could also do that. And again, just see if you can lift your elbow. Doesn't matter if you can't, that hand could remain in front. Take that left hand to the floor, come into plank. Push back into dog with the knees bent. Ah, yes. And then back into plank. And then push back, knees bent, heels high, buttocks reaching to the sky, and exhale, plank. And once again, pushing back, knees bent, heels high, and then knees to the earth. Hands come out in front of us, about another hand or so in front, and then we dip the heart to the earth. See how that feels. If you need this little half coil out of there as we did at the beginning, then you can take a couple of those if the shoulders are still feeling a little vulnerable or uncomfortable here. Otherwise, you can just drop into it and take a couple of breaths here. And then rock forward. So we're going to tuck the tail, and if you can, the elbows can just remain on the floor. They might need lifting and then replacing depending on how your shoulders are feeling this morning. Keeping the toes tucked and then lifting the knees, elbow plank. Take one breath there as we kick into the heels and reach away through the crown, and then knees, thighs, hips, belly to the floor. Just a moment in our Sphinx pose. So pressing the elbows into the floor, begin to pull them back towards the heels and reach those toes away first, probably, and then press the feet into the floor, the tops of the feet into the floor, and then assert the elbows. And it's just a moment. I find this bunches up in the neck really quickly if we hold too long. So press then the hands into the floor so you can lift the elbows off, widen them out to either side, and then just allow the forehead to come and rest on the floor, on the earth. You might like to bring your big toes in and let the heels drop out. And you could just have a little smooch here through the shoulders, a little roll on the forehead from side to side. And let's add a little element today. We're going to take that right hand and we're going to lay it along the floor at the height of our shoulder. And then take the left hand just close to the left shoulder and push our way over, taking the left leg over to the right hand side. So we're really stretching onto that right shoulder. Breathing here, because there's quite a lot of shoulder work that we've been doing this sequence, this series. Take a couple of deeper breaths, see what's there. And then dropping back down. Coming back to lay on the belly, taking that right hand so it just comes maybe onto your fingertips. I find that's a little bit more comfortable. just beside the shoulder there, and then lengthen that left arm out along the floor at the height of your shoulder. Begin to push your way over to the left-hand side. Making any lifts and adjustments you need to make that comfortable. Take that right leg and see if you can place the left foot gently onto the earth. Over to the right. Let's move. And then a couple of nice deep breaths there. Try and relax into it, releasing through the shoulders. But also it's quite a nice spinal release. And then coming back, rolling back carefully onto your belly, nice and slow motion there. Be careful with your shoulders. Get comfortable and then bring the hands under the shoulders and push up into like a cat plank, half plank. And then back to sit on your heels. I change the names of things all the time, just when they come to me. It's not very helpful, right? Even after 13 years of teaching and continuously evolving my language into craziness. So find the danda here, find this nice, upright and strong. You might already feel it, that plank work, this inner strength that grows with that work. And we come into our affirmation vinyasa. So turn the palms out and inhale to reach with trust. Hands down to the earth, come forward with enthusiasm, looking forward, drifting forward. Coming into your little back bend, dropping the hips to the earth. I open myself to possibilities. Pull back into wisdom pose, buttocks to heels. I bow to wisdom. Coming up into upcut, I breathe in energy. Siddhasana breath, tongue out. I release my fears. Down cut. Upcut, I welcome change. Full child's pose, hands beside the feet. I surrender to peace. Reaching skyward on your knees, I feel joy and inspiration. Hands meet overhead, hands to heart, buttocks to heels. And I honor life. Let the words sink deeply into the cells of your body. Let them be a declaration rather than an affirmation. And then as you're ready, just letting the hands go and inhale, rising with joy once again. Arms overhead. And if you like, joy might mean a little bit of a playful movement as we reach the peak. That's how you feel. And then weight into the left leg as we bring that right foot forward, taking the right hand to land on the knee. And then inhale, letting that left arm swoop forward and up as we dip the hips into our crescent moon pose. And the moon is so crescent moon, it's like this little thin sliver right now, so beautiful. And then drop the arm back behind you, stretching it behind you as you lift out of there a little bit to give yourself a little bit of room for that. And then dropping forward once again, inhale, arm forward and up. Reach to peak as the hips drop down. And then exhale, pulling out of there a little bit, arm back and down. And then inhale, come into Anjaneyasana, the crescent moon pose with the arm reaching as the sky, as the hips dip down. Reaching to the sky as the hips dip down. And then the arm back and down. Last one here. Inhale, reaching forward and up, hips down. That back foot pressing firmly in as is the front. Take one more breath there, maybe looking skyward. And then as you exhale, coming forward with that hand, with both hands actually. Bring both our hands down on either side of the foot. And inhale, pull back, pull that right hip back, drop the nose towards the knee. And exhale as you rock forward once again, lengthening through the spine, lifting the head. So we come into this upright, bright position. And then inhale, pull that right hip back, drop the nose in towards the knee. And as the hip pulls back, keep reaching into that foot, pressing into the earth. And then the exhalation as we rock forward with the hips. Press that back foot in support, looking up as you arrive. Look bright like a meerkat. And then inhale, pull back. Once again, hip draws back, foot presses into the earth. Here we hold just for a couple of breaths. Keep pulling that right hip back as you reach the foot to the earth. It doesn't matter if it lifts a little, please understand. It's just a direction. And then we come forward as we're ready, in that nice slow motion. Be proud here, be proud, look up, find that sense of peace within yourself. And then hand comes out a little, you can have a block. Oh, we didn't do that yet. No, it doesn't come out a little. You can have a block under the hand for now. I forgot what I was doing. Tuck the toe under at the back and then lift that knee. You could always do this with that knee remaining on the floor, of course. A little bit of weight into that left hand as we let the right arm rise. And maybe that right hip just a little rising at the same time. And then dip down with the hips as you reach up through the arm and into the heel. Now I'll take one more inhale as we reach up a little, maybe even lifting the hip a little, and then drop the arm back down as you drop the hip down and bringing the hand back into the floor, and then inhale it forward and up, and the big circle with the arm, and then exhale back and down. So following the journey of the sun, inhale. With my teacher, we're learning about Surya as a deity. So expect some sun salutes coming back in again soon. Inhale, lift the arm up, let it stay there, and exhale, drop the hip back down. Try and find this nice, there's a lot going on here, that knee coming forward, that heel dropping back, the arm pressing in, the arm reaching up. It's a lot going on. Take that right hand, let it come back down. Let me change my view for you. Let it come back down onto the knee. You're going to take that hand, left hand a little bit further out. Perhaps you're going to step that left foot a little bit further in, perhaps. And then you allow that left foot to drop to the outer edge, kick into it firmly, and then walk this right foot out a little bit. You've got lots of room. And then you want to really firmly kick into that left leg and lift the hip away from the floor as you press firmly into that left hand and then reach the right arm up. Or even just the elbow. Breathing here, just a couple of breaths. I know it's strong. And then bring that right hand back down to the floor or even a block in front of you. And see if you can lift that right foot and either place it directly on the left or in front or behind, so you can then come and lift up with the elbow or the arm. And then slowly coming back down into plank. Knees drop to the floor. I can't remember. And then buttocks back to the heels. That's right. Actually, before we take the buttocks back to the heels, we're walking the hands out a little further. And we're not going to take the buttocks back to the heels. We're going to roll the sit bones high and begin to dip the heart low. So the buttocks remains sort of over the knees and the heart comes to the earth. If the heart if it's still too uncomfortable, of course, we can do those half lifts out of there. Breathing here. You can have these little micro movements, little micro play through the hips or the shoulders. And then as you're ready, you half lift out of there. Elbows can remain on the floor, or the elbows can just lift up a little bit while we segue and then drop them back down so you can come back. Lift the knees off the floor with your toes tucked. So back into our lunge, our elbow plank. And then slowly, knees, thighs, hips to the earth. Heart opening up like a flower. Feet reaching away like your toes are trying to escape from you. And then press the feet into the floor, the tops of the feet. Find this comfort with the skin of the thigh, the muscle of the thighs just spreading into the earth. Draw that lower navel in strongly, firmly now towards the sacrum. Elbows begin to press into the floor, as do the palms of your hands. And this could be a little bit of a forward action. Let's start with that. Pressing the elbows and hands into the floor and forward out in front of you. They don't go anywhere, right? It's an internal action. And then try and keep that even pressure between the hands and the elbows, and then pull them back. Slide them back towards your hips and see how that changes the expression of the pose. The inner expression, not much changes on the outer. Then one more breath, because this can bunch up real quick in the neck. Well, it does for me. You can tell me if that's true for you or not. And then let the elbows come out wide. And we can just begin to lay back down. And just have an immediate smooch through the shoulders. Rolling the head from side to side. Breathing into the back body once you come back into stillness, into the center. Bringing the hands in under the shoulders. Taking a little baby back bend of your choice. So just lifting gently up or pressing up a little more dynamically. And then press all the way back into wisdom pose or into like an extended child's pose. Again, you could have a little rock from side to side. The elbows could be off the floor or resting on, depending on your energy level. And then just slowly come to kneeling once again to come upright. And sitting back up on your haunches. And again, just flow directly into spontaneous movement and release through the neck, shoulders, and bundle spine. Honing into that clear channel of awareness that we tuned into at the beginning of class. And I ask you to try and keep that sensitivity throughout class. And that helps you make the
correct focus is whatever has been offered by the teacher who can barely see you and isn't in front of you directly. We come into our affirmation series for the third and final time. Turning the palms out as you're ready and inhale, I reach with trust. Exhale, I come forward with enthusiasm. Inhale your back bend. I open myself to possibilities. Exhale, wisdom. I bow to wisdom. Inhale, up cat. I breathe in energy. Exhale, down cat. I release my fears. Inhale, up cat. I welcome change. Surrender to childhood. And I surrender to peace. Open up, kneeling. I feel joy and inspiration. Sitting back down, comes the heart, and I honor life. And letting that declaration absorb into your being, into your subtle body now. So you feel the sparkling energy of the words, of the intention, just twinkling out around you. And then dropping the arms back down to the side, and inhale once again, rising up, but it's off the heel. Hands meet overhead, you could even watch. And as you exhale, draw the lower navel in towards the back, and then bring the hands out in front of you in like a cat pose, and then we're going to tap those toes under and slowly lift the knees off the floor, but it's high. You can keep the knees fairly bent, make yourself
A little comfortable, begin to press the floor away from you. As you keep rolling the sit bones high, those knees, the heels are lifted, the knees are bent, and the sit bones are rolling up and high. We're pressing the hands into the floor, so we feel from the hands to the hips one nice long line, and then slowly straighten out that left leg and see if you can touch the heel to the floor. Doesn't matter if you can't, it is the direction, not the end result that matters. And then inhale, lift the heel up high again and drop that right heel down to the earth. See how far you can get before it's enough for you opening up the back of the leg, and then repeat that another time, another round for yourself. And then lifting that right heel once again. See if both heels can come down towards the floor together. Opening up the back of the legs, pressing those hands into the floor, and in particular, focus a little bit on the index finger knuckle, pressing down. That corner of the palm usually gets a little light, so we want to focus on that. And then we're going to lift our heels and coil round through the spine and come a little forward. Head drops in between the arms. And then as you exhale, just push back, straightening out the back and dropping the heels back down. Head comes back in line with the spine. And then inhale, rock forward, lift with the heels, round through the spine, release through the head, shoulders sort of come over the wrists now. And then we push back once again, straightening out the spine and dropping the heels back towards the earth. One more time. Inhale, lift the heels, rock forward, round through the back, release the head. And exhale, push back into down facing. Perhaps walk your hands or your feet a little further away from each other. So when we rock forward now with a flat back, just coming into our plank pose. See if we can drop both feet to the left-hand side, so the outer edge of the left foot drops down and the right heel drops in beside it. And then see if you can lift that right arm and align your
left shoulder over your wrist and your right shoulder over your left. And the elbow can just lift, so you can reach that right arm up and have a little rotation through that wrist, just as a little mini distraction, as well as it's nice for the wrist, right? And then reach the arm over your head, across the ear, and then down to the floor, coming back into plank. Let's drop our knees wide to the floor and sit our heels back to the buttocks back to the heels. And just take a moment in deep ease and relaxation. Nice deep breath in through the nose and perhaps out through the mouth. If your wrists are hurting you a little bit, let's lift them up over our head in prayer and begin our little rotation that we do. You might like a little rock from side to side, just using that sensitivity as a gauge. And when we find that sort of clarity in our sensitivity, movement begins to naturally arise. So we don't need to think about it. We just need to give the body permission to play and to move organically and naturally. Bring the hands back down to the earth. They're at about shoulder distance now. Spread those hands out, spread those fingers out. Take an inhale to lift back up. Tuck the toes and push back, keeping the heels high and the knees bent once again as we come into this variation of dog that's a little bit more careful. Begin to push the hands into the floor, lengthen one nice long line from hands to hip, and then begin to try and straighten the heels down towards the floor to straighten the legs. And then as you find yourself in this nice, long, controlled Adho Mukha Swavasana, downward facing dog, rock forward, bringing yourself into plank, making any small adjustments you need to with the hands or feet to make sure that you're in nice alignment. And then drop both feet down to the right-hand side. So the right foot comes onto the razor edge. The left foot swivels on the ball to drop the heel down. And then the left arm becomes light. We're lining that right shoulder over the right wrist. Left elbow lifts up towards the sky. And if you've got it, the left arm can also do that. A little rotation if you're there with the wrist just to distract yourself. Keep lifting that right hip away from the earth. Take one more breath into your left fingers and then reach it across overhead so you're in one long arching line from the left foot to the left hand, and then release that hand to the floor, back into your plank with control. Hallelujah. Well done, people. We got this. Drop the knees nice and wide to the floor. Bring your big toes together and drop the buttocks down to the heel. Hands can just remain down, elbows, forearms to the earth as we rest here for a couple of breaths. And then if you need to, and I think it's a good idea anyway, is to bring those hands into prayer overhead and once again to rotate the hands, the wrists out a few times. Any little play that feels right for you, that helps you feel as if you're releasing, maybe even a little massage through the wrist, through the hands. Maybe a little underarm dip or a little dipping from one shoulder to the other. And then you can, as you're ready, release the hands back down to the floor. Taking an inhalation to find your way up, and then just sweep your feet out to a side and take them out in front of you.
Might like to just get clear of the sit bones to the earth. Lean a little bit back into your hands supporting you behind you. So legs stretched out in front of you. Let's just shake out those ankles. And rotate a few times in one direction and then in the opposite direction. Click, click. Begin to lift up from the lower belly, like the sit bones rolling into the earth, lifting that lower belly back in towards the sacrum and letting that pulsate the chest open. So we don't want a whole
stiffness to it. Just working a little, perhaps even with a gentle pulsation of effort and non-effort, of activation and release. Beautiful pulsation of life, right? Those hands can be gently supporting you on either side. And then once you feel the strength grow, the comfort level come in, perhaps you can really begin to reach into those heels. Reach the heels a little bit away from you and then hook them into the floor. Draw that lower navel in towards the sacrum and find that lift that the lower belly activates all the way into your chest. So we're really expanded from collarbone to collarbone. Open-hearted. Now we can have a softness in the knees and begin to wriggle your way a little forward as if already you want to start a forward fold. And then the legs need to activate. Those knees, you can see my knees and micro bends in them. Yours might want to be a little bit more obvious, a little bit more of a bend. Kick the heels or hook the heels into the floor and then inhale, reach the arms forward and up. This is quite an art, right? It's not a pose for the namby-pamby as far as I'm concerned. It looks so simple and to me it's so dynamic. Okay, so keep drawing the navel in towards your spine as you kick into your heels and soften your knees and reach forward. Just allow the torso to begin to reach forward. And once you get to the point that is of like, okay, that's all I can go, just let the arms drop down to wherever they reach. So we're still hooking those feet, those heels into the floor. So we're sort of like drawing back the energy back into the hips. And the rolling of the sit bones then are rolling up into the spine. So we feel this updraft through the spine. Even though there's a kick back into the heels, there's this hooking back and drawing back into the hips. See if that makes any sense to you. And then reaching back up through the dunda, through the spine. A couple of breaths there. Breathe some nice deep breaths. Perhaps into the lower back, into the ribs, see what's going on for you. See where the resistance and tightness is in the back, in the hips, wherever you might find it. Good work. Take an inhalation to gently come up. Walk your way out of that. And as you come to upright, just take a moment to appreciate the pose. Appreciate what it offers you. And then we're going to shimmy down a little bit with the buttocks so we can come to lie on our back. So you might want to do that in just slow motion. Drawing down into the belly once again. Just try and control the descent. one vertebra at a time. It doesn't matter if you fall down somewhere, just it's an indication of the area that maybe is weakened. And then slowly we release the whole body, you know, the back.
The legs are still lifted up with us. So let's just hug in those knees, those thighs. You can have some nice little rotations, perhaps the knees, to release any tension in the lower back. And in the opposite direction. And then extend the legs up into the air. Allow the hands to drop down beside you if you like, with the palms facing down for a little bit of support. And again, you can just widen those feet a little bit so we can rotate through the ankles in both directions. Bending the knees a little bit again, using those hands to support you. A little lift, upright lift, and then exhale. Let's reach the legs out in front of us while we sort of look up. And then inhale, lift the legs over your head. And as you exhale, let the legs stretch out in front of you while looking up at them. And then inhale, lift. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lift. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lift. Exhale, reach. Inhale, exhale. Few more in your own time. And then last one, reach the legs, and then place the feet on the floor, relax the head back down to the floor, arms release open to the side of the body, so palms up, and just roll the head a couple of times from side to side. And then when you're ready, once again, you know, it's nice to take a couple of breaths into the belly. I did mean to say that, my mind got distracted for a second. But just breathe into the belly and release out any tension with that gentle core work. And then bring the hands back in alongside the body with palms facing down. Bring your feet in so they're sitting just behind the sit bones. And then we can use the inhalation to begin to press the feet into the floor, lift the hips and feel the spine. Keep pressing the feet into the floor. Make any adjustments you need to. Find the peak of your pose that you're happy with, comfortable with, and then we just allow the exhalation to roll down through the spine, back to the earth. Deep press in, we inhale, lift the hips. Feel the spine. Press the feet into the floor just to really reiterate the peak of your pose. Arms are relaxed at this point, perhaps not really pressing in, just accepting the support that the arms and shoulders give you here. Use an exhalation to slowly once again unwind or roll back down onto the earth. And one more. Feet press in. begin to tuck the tail almost. It's like tucking the tail to lift the hips, to peel the spine off the floor slowly. And then keep pressing those feet into the floor. And now we can engage the arms a little bit more as we press them in and wriggle those shoulder blades in towards each other a little more closely. Keep pressing the arms into the floor, hands in support, open the chest, keep the knees and thighs in line with the hips if possible. Don't let them fall out too much here. Steady, easy breath. Relax through your shoulders, relax through your neck. And then slowly, slowly shrug the shoulders so you feel the top of your spine drop deeply into the earth. And then just allow that rolling of the spine to continue back down, vertebra by vertebra to the floor. And as you arrive on the floor, make yourself comfortable again. Take a breath in. And then we're going to lift up, your choice. Really, we're going to come into shoulder stand. So if that is a no-go for you, then I would recommend you get a bolster if you have one, place it, come back into bridge, place it under your buttocks, under your hips, and bring the legs up in Viparita Karani, often called legs up a wall, but it's actually just easy inversion. If you want to have a go at shoulder stand or shoulder stand variation, we're going to lift the feet off the floor and we're going to kick our legs back over our head. Now, this time really lifting the hips high so you can place your hands onto your lower back and hips. So try and contour is the word I'm looking for, your thumb and fingers around the hip bone. And if you like, you can do this first variation, which is also called Viparita Karani, where the elbows are pressing into the floor and our hands are on our hips and we're off on an angle. So the wrists are taking a little bit of effort here, but try and keep out of the wrists and let all the effort come into the elbows. And you might find this shoulders, just trying to spread some of the effort out into the shoulder. It won't take much of it. It's the elbows that will be doing the bulk of the work here. Hands and wrists will also be taking some, but try and spread it out or direct it into the elbows. Reach up into your feet here and let the toes spread. We reach into the heels and the balls of the feet evenly. That belly begins to concave a little here, but we keep, what do we keep doing? We keep lengthening the tail. We're like lifting through the hips. If you've got more to go, you can take the feet over your head. If you need to, you could bend the knees towards your forehead. If your feet touch the floor, then that's where you can go. You would then interlace your hands, walk the shoulder blades in towards each other a little bit more, and see if you can place your hands up the back, towards the shoulder blades, and then lift one leg and see how that feels. How is the pressure in your neck, in your head? Then the leg that you've lifted, you can bend and then straighten the opposite one up as you bring that one down. So it's just one leg at a time. Breathing. Seeing how steady you can be here with that. And if you're comfortable, you can try then bringing the other leg to reach up beside the one that's in the air. And just for a moment, you might be in shoulder stand. Or your variation. You can always have this slight leaning of the legs forward. And then if you can, we'll come out of there. You can bend the knees and bring the knees to the forehead and the feet towards the buttocks. And this is a very kind variation of what's called the deaf man pose. I'll need to look up the Sanskrit name. Breathing a couple of deep breaths into your back. And then just begin to really super slowly unwind. Again, just trying to, hands can come flat on the floor, vertebra by vertebra, trying to vertebra by vertebra. Once again, bring the spine back down to the floor. And then one foot, and then the other foot. You can just let the chin drop to the right-hand side and just take a couple of breaths, really dropping the head to that side as well as you can. And then coming back to the center and doing the same to the left-hand side. Chin to the left shoulder. Back to the center. And then make your way into Shavasana. If there is anything else you feel you need, you know, the classic counter pose for this is the fish pose, where we sit on our hands, basically tuck the elbows in nice and wide, straighten the legs, and you can push into the elbows to puff the chest out and drop the head back. That is the classic counter pose to our shoulder step. So if you feel you need that, please take it. I don't always feel like I need that, so don't always think to offer it. Feet nice and wide, away from each other. Arms nice and wide away from the body. Shoulder blades in towards each other. Flesh of the buttocks down towards the heels. Align the body so it's straight. Even on left and right side. And begin the process, perhaps starting with the breath. Taking nice, long, smooth inhalations in, and slowly allowing the breath to keep out, extending the exhalation a little longer than the inhale. Let the whole body begin to completely relax, including the breath. Let the bones of your body become really beautifully heavy, exquisitely heavy. Pinning you down to the earth in a way that makes you feel part of the earth, submerged into the earth. Let the earth wrap its beautiful arms and tentacles around your body, absorbing you back in
letting your earth body become the body of the earth. Wipe the slate clean right here, right now. Let everything dissolve in this moment of what is past. And let the next moment find you renewed, clean slate. And as we begin to find the breath again, receiving the inhalation as an act of love, an act of self-love, and an act of love for life. Let that love, that breath, fill the cells of your body, dissolving all fear that we have embedded within us. Let the love dissolve any resistance that we have to life, that we have to ourselves. And you can begin to invite movement back into the body, a little wriggle, a little stretch. And I think that feels good for you, right for you. Rolling on to our side when you're ready. And we can push up. Come and sit up when we're ready. Let's just finish in a bit of silence this morning, having the inner prayer. Feeling into your sensitivity, your ability to feel into your own body, your own state, and of course, your own wisdom. Bow your head towards your heart
in honor of that wisdom. Breathe the last fresh breath that we share together. Namaste. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.